You're watching America Trends. I'm Mary Burt Godwin. And our favorite Chief Amazement Officer, Customer Service, Customer Experience Expert, Shep Hyken is there on Zoom. Welcome back to America Trends, buddy.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
Love having you on the show. I swear, I think, I come up with topics to talk to you about all the time because, customer service situations happen all the time. And I'm just like, oh, I got to talk to Shep about that. Whether it's good or bad or something. I was on the phone with Hilton Hotels last night, actually, about an upcoming stay. And I'm like, I had to pull out of this guy a good customer experience. I'm like, I know you can give it to me, buddy. I didn't say that, but I was like, are you sure there's nothing you can do to help me? And he said, hold please.
Oh, no.
And he helped me.
I'm friends with the head of that whole department worldwide. If you need me to, I'll intervene.
We'll have to sidebar about my situation. It's like adjoining rooms I want to get with my friend, and they always give me grief about it. And then I always have to pry a little bit. They're always like, no, sorry, you can be next door. I said, next door is not the same as adjoining. Is there anything else you could do for me? And they always go, and clack on their keyboard, and finally, ultimately get it for me like 10 minutes later. But I think, I don't know. I don't understand. But ultimately, he got it for me, and I said, thank you so much. I appreciate your help. But it took a while to get it.
It's so frustrating sometimes. And what's interesting is that the answer was always there. Why did it take 10 minutes to get us there?
That is the question, Shep, that I have, because every time, this has happened to me 5 different times at least, and I always have to just say, I've gone through this before, and I know that it can be done. And so I'm like, is it the room type? I have to go with the person, and then they ultimately get it done. So I just think, let's do it the first time.
Yeah, it's frustrating, to put a customer through extra effort when the answer's already there. So what it is, it's number one, it's a poor sign of training. Number two, and these are possibilities, they aren't all together, or maybe they're all happening at once. Number two, the information's not readily available. Today, that information should be so easy. The agent should be able to type in, do they have adjoining rooms at the hotel, wherever it is? And right away, that answer should come back yes or no. No is a definitive answer. It's not that we can't do it. We don't do it because we don't have adjoining rooms. That's totally different than I can't do that for you, and I don't even know if they have adjoining rooms. That's the kind of thing that it's probably, you're not the first one to ask for this, right?
Right. Well, and it's interesting because this excuse I got this time was, oh, well, just the coordinator, that's what the coordinator assigned. And it was like washing his hands of any ability. And I thought, does he not feel empowered to be able to say, hold please for a moment while I look into this for you, and then go to a coordinator or go to a manager or go to somebody. It's an interesting, like you said, I don't know what the situation is with them. Are they not trained? Or they not feel empowered? Do they just not care? Is they just, I don't know what the deal is.
Well, it's not right. By the way, what you just talked about was what I refer to as the ownership mentality, or in this case, the lack of ownership mentality. Because no matter what the question or problem is, if it falls in somebody's lap, we train our clients, their employees, to accept the responsibility of getting whatever the issue is taken care of. Even if they have to pass it on to someone else, the way in which they do it makes the customer feel like, I'm talking to somebody that is kind of in charge. You don't have to actually be a leader. You don't have to have ownership in the business to act appropriately and act like an owner. And I think it's really cool. There was this 18-year-old kid that was taking care of guests at a pizza restaurant, so good that the guest asked if he was the owner of the restaurant. He's like 18, I'm not the owner of the restaurant. But he asked, why would you ask that? And the guest said, you're just doing such a good job taking care of us. And 2 things were happening. And to your point, this is where it happens. Number one, this person admired his boss, who happened to be the owner. But the most important thing is the boss empowered this young man to take care of the guest, regardless of what it is. And he said, you know what you're supposed to do. You've worked at restaurants before, and you seem like a pretty bright guy. If you don't know what to do, come and ask me, and I'll tell you. And if you do something and you're not sure, just do it if you think it's going to take care of the situation. And come back, tell me, and I'll tell you if you did it right. And if not, I'll teach you what to do next time. I mean, that's pretty easy.
I love that. And I actually saw a post on your Instagram feed, I think, about this, where you had a little cartoon talking about this exact topic of, maybe it's a frontline employee, empowering them to feel like the owner, taking ownership of the situation. And, sometimes I'll go and say, hey, is there, or if somebody has a peanut allergy and I say, hey, is there peanuts in this food product? And the person working the counter says, I don't know. Dead.
Yeah.
It's like,
Instead of,
okay,
"Let me
could you find out?
Well, I don't know, or I would ask, somebody's got to know.
I'm thinking, yeah, I'm pretty sure you could go ask somebody. So just, I want to train them for them, but it's like, then some places you go and they're so kind. They just hold for a moment, please, while I get this answer for you. Because I don't know is an okay answer, but let me get the answer for you. And it would take a moment, right? So it's things like, that's part of the training. Maybe that's part, it's a young kid. I don't know what the answer is. But what are some of the tips for someone to make a frontline employee feel like an owner?
Sure. Well, number one, and by the way, there's so many things going on in my mind, but let's talk about that ownership mentality. There's a line in the sand that you never want any of your employees to cross. And if their job is to do whatever it is they're hired to do, and by the way, we teach this. This comes out of the Disney handbook of taking care of guests. And in their philosophy, it's do the job you're hired to do. Take a ticket, sweep the floor, work on a ride. It doesn't matter. That's job one. Job two, just as equal, is take care of the guest. Job three is keep the park clean. Now, we may not be able to do job three because it's not what we do, but jobs one and two, do what you're supposed to do, what you've been hired to do, and take care of the guest. Now, or the customer. We have to teach people where the line in the sand is. We want them to get all the way up to it without having to come to us and ask us every time, is it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I do this? If it's not illegal, immoral, if it's not going to hurt the company in any way financially, if anything, it's going to help the company, it needs to be considered. So that's number one. I love to tell the story of a major car manufacturer, luxury car manufacturer, that has a team of 25 or so people that all they do is go around the country to car dealerships that have customers that are so unhappy that the dealership says, I don't know what I can do. I'm at a complete loss. And they are allowed to give back 100% of the purchase price of that car, even if it's 10 years old, if they haven't been able to make that customer happy.
Wow.
And how many times do you think they've had to do that?
I don't know. Probably not many because the customers are happy.
Right. And well, here's why. They do find ways to make the customer happy. They know they're allowed to do this, but none of these people have ever actually refunded the full purchase price because they got to a positive resolution before it got to that point.
Mm-hmm. And I really, as a guest or a customer, I really just want to know that if the answer is no, like you said, the answer is no. But I do want to know that you've worked towards helping me achieve my goal as the paying customer. Yep. And then if you can't get there, but just the flat out no is just like, really? Because I know that there might be a way. So, it's just making the customer feel heard sometimes,
Yep.
right? Like, I hear you, that's a frustrating thing, but because of X, Y, and Z, this can't be done. Or I hear you, hold please while I check with the manager, or whatever it is, finding that there are always ways to make stuff happen. And if there's not, then we, get to that conclusion. But just the watching somebody actually try to help is part of the whole issue, right?
Yeah, and it amazes me. And at the end of the day, it really is a training situation. It's hiring people that are smart enough to recognize they can dance a little bit. I call it like you walk the tightrope. You can lean a little to the left and a little to the right. Just don't go too far, or you're going to fall off, right?
Right.
So make sure that you stay within balance, stay within the boundaries. There's guidelines and policies, and they should just be exactly that, guidelines. You can go a little to the right or left. And the other thing is, and we talk about 1 to say yes, 2 to say no. I've written about this in my books and articles. If we teach people that if you absolutely cannot figure out a way to say yes with the criteria that we've already talked about just a few moments ago, then come and ask me as a manager or supervisor, whatever, and I'll help you. But find a way to say yes. And by the way, if you do something that's different that you've never done before, do it and then come back and tell me so I could tell the rest of the team what you did so they can learn from it as well. And that's how you create that organization that is always thinking about the customer.
Absolutely. And if it's not an exact yes in the moment, it could be a, let me see about that, I'm not sure.
Yep.
Right? It doesn't have to be an immediate no, because that's where then the customer feels like, that's not good.
The
right?
abrupt no.
The abrupt no. We want to be
tough.
a yes man or a potentially yes, possibly. Maybe. Let me think about that and get back to you. We got to take a break, Shep. Will you stick around for more, because I've got some more questions for you. Do you have time?
No, I will.
Okay, awesome. We are talking with Shep Hyken, Hyken.com. He's the Chief Amazement Officer. You can see why. Customer service and customer experience expert. And we are America Trends, and we'll be back here right after this quick break.